It's early morning and you start reading your first emails, and here you get one. Urgent information. Undisclosed recipients. Now, when I see undisclosed recipients, I immediately get like suspicious. Why, where am I amongst how many other people and so on? Although it was sent directly to me at my email address, which you'll see. But it's trying to tell me that they've got information. Basically, that if I read this, they've infected my computer with a Trojan and now have private information of your operating system. First and foremost, I'm well aware that the antivirus software I use, I really trust, and it is always up to date. And it's just not the antivirus software, but actually the monitor websites, if there's any Trojans that might be there, and all block them and actually tell me. Now, it says it was previously installed on an adult website, and when I went to visit it, allegedly, I selected the data clip, and then they installed software in my computer, and then my camera started to record very slowly. One thing that I do, and also I have mentioned this to the family, and they actually do it as well, is to either cover the webcam with a tape or actually have some security device over it. Now, what they say here as well is that they've also picked all up my social contact information. And if I want them to wipe up all these details, I have to give them 1,240 euros in a Bitcoin crypto. And then they actually give me the Bitcoin address here as well, which I supposedly have to transfer. Now, then they also tell me that I only have 24 hours to make that payment. If I don't make that payment, they will actually release all this evidence to all my social media contacts. Now, what you need to do, if you get an email like this, of course, you have to ignore it. You don't pay it, because this is called sextortion. What we can do later, we'll look at the actual Bitcoin address to see if there's any transactions already. You can look at that. One thing I always do, I would look at the sender. Now, the sender here is agdgd@justice.gov.za. Now, first and foremost, we'll actually also go look at who this user is if we can find him on the internet. But before I do that, let's look at all the headers quickly. So if we double click here, I have set up the properties, the message option facility within my Outlook. So I can always just click on that and actually look at the header. Here we see the return path is from justice.gov.za, from that person. It was sent to me directly. It was received from mail2@justice.gov.za, and that is the IP address. What we can do is look at the actual IP address if it resolves. So let's do that first. Now, how we can look at that, we'll use NS lookup. And then let's actually look at the Justice Department first. I'm going to set my server as 1.1.1.1, which is the public DNS server, which is very fast and very trustworthy. Now it is at justice.gov.za. So let's set the type of the lookup equals MX. What that does is that I can actually just give the domain name, and that will give me the mail servers of the domain. So let's look at justice.gov.za, and as you can see there, we actually have 4 mail servers, mail 1 to mail 4, and they have an accounting preference. That's part of a load balancing environment. Now, if we look at, it was told us that it is mail justice mail 2, and so let's look at the address quickly. Now I set the type back to A, which is the A all record, and then we can look at mail2.justice.gov.za, and we actually see it's 41.149.76.146, and that is confirmed. Now, what this tells me, it's a little bit worrying. Why does the mail come from there? Is the Justice Department's email account of that user compromised? And if so, how? And how do they actually monitor that? Okay, so it came from mail2.justice.gov.za, and it originally came from, if we look at this, it went through the Department of Justice. It is their server, so we actually see the actual server name internally and also the internal private address range. And so it's all still the same, and at the end of the day, it is gmx.de. So receiving office, it's replied to, so we actually have something in Germany, and that is an email address internally. So what you could suspect here is that somebody internally possibly went to an webmail facility of the Department of Justice and sent it from there. Now, this is not part of the investigation, but it's very important for us to see basically, everything around that. Now, a little bit later, we can actually look at where my mail server looks at and tells me what kind of possibly spam this is. So as you look at here, it actually did a scan with using ClamAV. ClamAV is an open source antivirus software, usually running on Linux. And it says that it's got a spam score of 11.3, which is very high. Anything usually above 5 is quite suspect. Now, the spam server, it's one of our spam servers that we use, so it identified that, but I let all email come through. Now, also, when we actually look at the content, it says the sender matches the SPF record, so it actually looks at the Department of Justice. But then also it says that the domain does not match the reply to, so there's an immediate negative point that it gets. And then also, if you look at the body content, it says it's a Bitcoin spam pattern 04, a sextortion Bitcoin only. So here you can actually see that it is a spam, and you don't have to worry, of course. Now, how does this work actually? Usually, they would obtain your information using a spam list. And some of these emails that come through, they might say to you, your password that you used before is this password. And sometimes it's correct, purely because they would go to websites that allows them to look at your previous passwords that were compromised. For example, if you used Adobe software, if you were logged on there many, many years ago, LinkedIn in 2012 was also compromised, and they get all those passwords from there, and you might think, oh, well, they've got my current passwords, could have never changed it. In this case, we see there's a Bitcoin address here. Now, what we can do is actually look up that Bitcoin address. Now, there is an address we can actually look at, and the one here, we'll use blockchain.com, and we can see here at this one, this guy has received 0 transactions. Now, this 0 transactions, he's got no, and this is current as of now. And let's just refresh that to make sure. And yes, he has received no Bitcoins. Now, other examples which I actually had a look at of Bitcoin examples, which is part of the sextortion that we looked at, we can actually see here that this user has obtained 10 transactions. The total received is 0.0449 Bitcoins, which is not that much. However, there are 10 transactions, and you can actually see who's paid and how he's used the Bitcoins. And then the final example, which I actually looked at sextortion, here we actually see the guy has got 2 transactions only, but somebody has paid and fallen prey to him. Now, additional things that you need to do is actually make sure that your antivirus are up to date often. You actually need to make sure that you actually have proper antivirus software. What we also see is that the crime syndication with cryptocurrency is getting bigger and bigger. So, and what I have read is that it is approximately 80% or more of most of the transaction is crime related. So this is a big issue for us. Email address, do a search on the internet, and then we find the following. This is the master telephone record of the Department of Justice in Bloemfontein. And as we can see here, that person does exist. That's his name, and then also I have hidden his telephone numbers so nobody can get to that, but this is a process that they have to follow up and actually look at that. Now, one thing we can do is actually follow up with him directly and see what's happened with his email address and how it's used.